welcome again to another Workshop Wednesday brought to you by schoolofbookkeeping.com, where it's casual conversations for serious workflows. And we are continuing our never-ending saga, it seems like, with e-commerce fundamentals. Rachel Dalci is joining us again as usual. We appreciate her joining us as she kind of guides us through these fundamental aspects. Just to kind of recap, we talked a little bit about just an overview of what is e-commerce. We talked about the components of an e-commerce business, being able to sell online. And then we talked about the so interesting topic of sales tax and sales tax implications. And last week we talked about inventory, right? So now, okay, so we've talked about handling those inventory situations and those types of things. And now we want to take a little deeper dive into how you sell online, right? So there's online sales channels is really the high level topic of what we're going to talk about today. So Rachel, let's kind of set the stage. There are a variety of ways to do so, selling online, and we want to kind of bucket these into two major categories. So let's talk about how you sell online. You were just talking about right before we started about selling on Facebook and Instagram shops and those types of things. So I mean, this is almost like a lions and tigers and bears, oh my, with the choices that are available, right?
Yeah. Well, first, I just wanted to say you make it sound so exciting as a never-ending saga. It makes people really want to listen.
Right. This is a song that never ends.
Well, it is kind of a never-ending saga. Like, I feel like sometimes when I sit down and do it, it's never ending. But yeah, so I specifically was referring to the Facebook and Instagram channels within Shopify. So when we're talking about selling online, there are different platforms that you can sell online. And Shopify is probably the biggest when it comes to selling product. And there's several out there. Squarespace, WooCommerce, Wix, BigCommerce, Magento, all kinds of ones like that. But Shopify is really in my opinion, the best platform to sell on if you're selling goods. They're really starting to get into the subscriptions and digital downloads and service-based business stuff too, that they're trying to push that. But as far as a checkout cart, it's the best in the world, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like one category or one classification of online sales channel, which is a shopping cart. And this was, I guess one of the some of the main categorizations of what makes a shopping cart versus, as we'll talk about, a marketplace, it is more of an extension of your existing website, right? Like you're going to have your website, and then there's going to be a store or something like that on your website. Would you say that would be a
Yes.
good general categorization about that?
Yes. So this is where your business's website would be. It would be on one of these platforms. Shopify has a multitude of themes that they call them that you can use, and then pick a theme and according to the design that you like. And all of them have an amazing shopping cart ability. And most of them do, or if not all, they all do as well. It's that Shopify is really meant to scale, and it can handle all kinds of stuff, and it's really meant to sell across the world. It can, handle that kind of stuff. But yeah, so this is where your website would be. And then if you want to talk about the opposite, which would be the marketplace.
Right. And we kind of talked a little bit about a analogy of the difference between a marketplace and a shopping cart. So a marketplace, the biggest marketplace of them all, right, would be Amazon, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Amazon is a marketplace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they even say so on their advertisements, right? Like X amount, X percentage of things that you buy from Amazon are from small businesses just like yourself, right? So that is a marketplace um, differs from a shopping cart in that it's not necessarily part of your domain, right? And we talked to like a little bit about the difference between a yard sale and a swap meet, right? Where a swap meet is a marketplace where people can bring their wares to, and you have that built-in foot traffic of people already being there looking for things to buy. Amazon is a great place for that, right? You've got you've got people that are already know about Amazon. They already know that if they're going to buy something, look online. I mean, I think I think back and of all of the things that Amazon solved for me when I would go from store to store to store looking for a specific thing, and I'm like, "Oh, I could
Ugh,
just go and
I
buy it
know.
online, and ship it to my house,
Oh,
and here
it's
I am trying to support a small business or a local business, keep the economy going in the local, and here we go, boom, can't beat convenience, right? They
yeah.
have cornered the market
I mean,
on convenience,
it's totally changed our culture and the way that we live. You could even buy something and send it ahead of where you're going. Like if I'm, going to visit family out of town, get something on Amazon and send it ahead. I
yeah.
mean, it's send gifts, Christmas gifts, just send them there. It's really a total game changer. But yeah, like you said, with where your website is on your own platform, that's your domain. So if like for instance, if my store is 1-800-flowers, that domain 1-800-flowers.com, if I've gotten it from GoDaddy or something, I can point it to Shopify, or I can get it from Shopify domains. But that is my website. And in Amazon, buyers aren't going to your URL, they're going to Amazon. And then you may have a Amazon shop within Amazon,
Right.
because a lot of people do that. And then there's all kinds of different ways that you can sell within Amazon. But like you said, it's really just the world's largest marketplace.
Right. And then there's others that are out there.
Hmm.
Amazon is not the only one that's out there. What are some of the other more common marketplaces that you've come across, Rachel?
Well, I have clients on eBay, on Etsy, which is the kind of the for the I can't even think, the marketplace for makers,
Yeah.
handmade goods. eBay is just people selling whatever, and then you have places like big chain stores that are now launching their own marketplace, like
Hmm.
Walmart. Walmart now has their own marketplace. So when you go to walmart.com, some of the items you are purchasing or that you see there listed are Walmart items that are bought by Walmart buyers. And then mixed in there are stuff that people have uploaded into their own marketplace account. So it's mixed in. So when you go to walmart.com, you could be buying from an independent seller, you could be buying from Walmart. And there's all
Hmm.
kinds of other retailers that are doing that as well. I think Michael's has the arts and crafts store has a marketplace now, and they're all sort of getting into that game.
Yeah. The and I mean, the biggest differentiator between a marketplace and an online shopping cart is obviously control, right?
Hmm.
So as far as the control that you have with regards to how you market, right, and
Hmm.
the pricing options and basically everything that you can control, just like a yard sale, right? You can advertise as much or as little as you want, and that sort of thing in order to ensure that you have foot traffic. You can control the pricing, but at a swap meet, type of thing where it's a gathering of other vendors, now you've got that built-in not cooperation, but competition, right?
Hmm.
Especially if you are selling some of the same things that other people are, right? And you'll see that on Amazon or all of these marketplaces where they'll have, they'll have a listing. It's the exact same listing, and then there'll be a little tiny thing that says see from other vendors or see from other suppliers, right? And then you see a whole bunch of listings. um Somebody says people dress better at a garage sale than at Walmart. Yeah, you don't have people at Amazon uh, website devoted to the strange
I
people.
know. People at Walmart.com. I was just going to say that. And then I'm like, is that really like a nice website? Maybe not.
Right? But yes, it is good for people watching, that's for sure, by going to Walmart. But now I lost my complete chain of thought. But the
Oh, like
control, the
where
control
I think,
factor.
yeah, the control.
Right. So, Amazon has a lot of requirements, and when you have that little tiny link that says see from other suppliers, that's where you're actually seeing everybody who could potentially could sell that same product for maybe a different price or anything like that, maybe the new or used or something
Yeah.
like that. Right. So, I actually have this really interesting story about marketplace. I was caught in a marketplace typhoon, whirlwind. I don't know. So here's the thing. So I was looking for a webcam, right? New webcam for that was good, and somebody recommended a certain brand, right? So I went and I looked first on Amazon, see how much this thing is, right? And so I'm like, well, let's see if there's other places, right? And so I went to at that time, it was Sears, so this is just how old this this process is, right? I went to Sears and saw a listing for the exact same model for like $30 less than I saw it on Amazon. Like, oh, well, here we go. This is exactly what I want. So I
But did
clicked
you have
on
to
it.
drive there?
No, no, this was a marketplace,
I'm
right?
so bad.
It was just a listing.
Okay.
But this is before I knew, all how, people could kind of game the system, right?
Hmm.
Um, so here we go. I order it. I order it through this through this marketplace, and then maybe 2 weeks later, I get a webcam in the from Amazon with
It's
a
from
gift
Sears.
receipt. With a gift receipt, right? And so I thought somebody had gifted me a webcam, but it's not the model that I thought I had ordered, right?
Hmm.
And so at the time, you could not go in and you couldn't find out who gifted you anything, right? So I actually slowly went through the whole buying process again through Sears. And what happens is that it was a listing for the specific brand, but when you clicked on it, it took you to an eBay listing, and then it was not the brand, and all that person did is go and buy that brand of that they were selling uh, through Amazon as a gift, which I could have done,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, yeah,
which
people
I
do that all the
totally could have
time.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sears had web scams.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, they do that. That's how they fulfill their orders.
Yeah, so they
Yeah, we
went and they
even
bought
had to
it
do
bought
that.
it as a
Yeah.
gift. They bought it as
That's so funny.
a gift, a gift order, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so that totally got me confused. And then so this was
Yeah, so
like
they
it
didn't
was one
unbox
mark.
it. Yeah, they just send
Yeah,
it straight to
it
you.
was
Yeah.
it was one marketplace leading to another marketplace that led to another marketplace
Yeah.
in order for me to get what I wanted, which is not what I wanted because I wanted a specific brand.
Yeah.
And that's why I brought it up to Sears. I'm like, hey, this listing, and then the reality is not, it says it's a Logitech webcam on the listing, but then what I actually get is some, generic brand that I could have bought for less than what they charged me,
Yeah.
because that's how they made their markup is they just submitted the order through Amazon for the no-name brand of webcam that I ultimately got, which I
Yeah.
could have done myself.
Well, I mean, that's how a lot of people do things. Like when I now my Shopify store is under a different name, but when it was the other name, we if we ran out of stuff, we had to get it on Amazon because, we weren't buying in large quantities and we would have to do that every once in a while. But I don't do that now. But yeah, I'm guessing a lot of people do that.
This is a good question that's on Facebook. This is what is this this is what they call drop shippers, where they never actually have
Yeah.
inventory. And we'll talk about this is actually next week's when we talk about fulfillment and shipping and those types of things. So we'll put a pin in this particular question, but you want to speak to what a drop shipper is, just so that we
Yeah.
can
Yeah. So
kind of set the stage.
yeah, and yeah, well, I'm happy to talk about that next week. But yeah, essentially, drop shipping is you are selling items that you don't physically have. So somebody is buying them from your site, and then you're sourcing them from somewhere else and sending them directly to the buyer. The opposite would be is if you are holding the inventory and then you pack it up and you ship it. So, and then, there's financial differences between the two, but we can get into that next week.
Yeah, we'll dive and unpack that next week about fulfillment when we talk about shipping and fulfillment next week. But so online platforms, right? The shopping cart experience versus the marketplace experience. You've kind of talked to the gold standard for you is Shopify, because it does have that ecosystem
Hmm.
that's kind of built into that. With like, you start with a Shopify plan, and then you can add on plugins. That's what I found very similar to like WooCommerce as well, is that it had its core functionality, but then if you needed additional things on top of that, you end up having all these add-ons and
Hmm.
plugins. That ends up being a little bit of a monstrosity, I guess, is the is the challenge. Like, how do you herd those cats when when it could potentially be, you know I want to do this with my online store or my online shopping cart. uh how do you get involved in the selection process of the apps or the add-ons, or is that more of, well, they added it on, they get to deal with it as far as the client's concerned?
It's for my clients, it's pretty much they do their own apps because I'm not really involved in their store design and their store setup, but because I have my own Shopify store and I have gotten involved with that with them before, it's just not the norm. I usually don't put that into my scope, but yes, there's an app for everything, every single thing in the world. So there's even an app to have somebody create an app, an online app on your phone. An
Right.
app for an app. Anyway, there's nothing that you can't have an app for. If you can imagine it, there's an app for it. So the Shopify App Store is very cool. So yeah, it can be very overwhelming, but usually I have people ask me like, "Do you know if there's an app for blah blah blah?" And I'll recommend design facing the customer facing stuff that they're needing an app for certain design. Not so much. I don't really know, but I mean, the different sales channels and stuff within Shopify and all that, that's definitely my strong point. But another reason why Shopify is excellent is because it's you can sell through the Facebook and Instagram channels that are built within Shopify. Now, you can sell on Facebook without Shopify, and you can sell on Instagram without Shopify, and you can sell on TikTok and Pinterest without Shopify. But if you're on Shopify, in addition to your URL store, you can sell through
Hmm.
those channels and they come through your Shopify reporting. So you're selling on those places and
Got
then
it.
it comes into Shopify like it's a regular sale. So those are apps, but they're sales channel apps. So there's
Mhm.
inventory apps.
So
There's all kinds of different apps that you can use. So yes, it can get really overwhelming, but that's I mean, we could have a whole other discussion on that.
Right. Now, what would you consider Facebook, Instagram, TikTok Shop, the, since we kind of talked about, online sales channel, and then the marketplace, where would Facebook and those two fall in your estimation of defining an online sales channel versus or shopping cart versus a marketplace?
Well, in a
Because
market,
to make it even more confusing, Facebook has a place to sell things called marketplace.
yeah, and that's not selling on Facebook. That's just accessing the Facebook marketplace. But yeah, so when you're on a marketplace, you're really just dealing with that marketplace and its rules and regulations. And Walmart, you have to deal with their rules and regulations, and so on and so forth. So when you're dealing with your Shopify store, there's just a lot of more flexibility. Like, oh yes, I would like to push my items to the Facebook store. Yes, I would like to push my items to this Instagram store, and that way, when I make Instagram and Facebook posts, I can then link my store to it, and then they can buy on their phone. So there's it's mainly for creativity. It's for people that really want to sell on a lot of those different channels. When you're dealing with a marketplace, and I have people that sell on both. They're on Amazon and on Shopify, and then they can do the various channels through that. But there's just more available for you to do within the Shopify world. Whereas if you're on Amazon, you're just going to do it the way that they do it. So, and you might get into this next, but for me, the single most important difference between the two is the cut that they take. So, and I'll let you.
Exactly. You stole my thunder.
Yeah, sorry.
Right. So I mean, that's the biggest thing. Like, so with the online shopping cart, right? You have control. You have the responsibility as well as driving the traffic. Whereas Amazon or the marketplaces are going to have that built-in foot traffic and brand recognition as far as where I'm going to buy stuff. But then the flip side of that is the fees, right? Whereas you could have a Frankenstein monster of apps on your online shopping cart, but you're going to have a Frankenstein monster of fees when it comes to a marketplace. Because why? Right. Tee it up for you there, Rach.
Well, if you're going to be listing your items on Amazon, then you're going to pay to do it. So, like you said earlier, everybody buys from Amazon, even when you don't want to, even when, I would rather buy from a local seller, but just because of convenience and the way that our culture has changed, we shop around and then ultimately end up buying it on Amazon out of convenience, sometimes not even just for the price, but for the delivery time. So you're going to pay dearly to sell your things on Amazon. You're going to pay listing fees, advertising fees, all kinds of stuff, transaction fees, fulfillment fees. There's all kinds of different things. So that could eat up to 50% of your profit. When you're selling on your own platform, your own store, even, on Shopify, when you're selling into the different channels, selling on Google, selling on Facebook, Instagram, you're going to keep predominantly most of that money, less transaction fee. Transaction fees are really what you're going to spend. And sometimes you're dinged twice on that with transaction fees. When you see them come into QuickBooks, you'll usually see a transaction fee twice. But your marketing, which in Amazon, you just pay them to do it. And you say, you know what, I want to be listed when somebody searches, let's say somebody's searching cat socks, and you want to pay, and if you're selling cat socks, I mean socks with cat prints on them, not like actual socks that go on cats. But yeah, so then if you want your cat socks,
a meow moccasin,
yeah, to come up first, the very first listing that people see if they're searching cat socks, then you're going to pay dearly for that. So that's going to come out of your Amazon payout. But that's wildly convenient. And if that's part of your model, that's what that's your budget for marketing and advertising, well, then that's fine.
Right.
When you're on Shopify, the main place that you're going to have to be advertising that is search engines, Google and Bing and all those things. So it's, where are you going to advertise? This place or that place? Not advertising isn't an option unless you're George Clooney and you have a tequila line and everybody knows what it is, or something like that, or you have
50 million followers, and all you have to do is just hold it up on your Instagram, and voila, there's my built-in marketing.
Exactly. And I mean, but that's what that whole world of creative marketing, you pay $1 million for Kim Kardashian to show it for 30 seconds and then people see it. So, again, that's Instagram marketing. So there's all kinds of different ways to do it, but it's really just a matter. It's not one, you don't have to market. It's, well, where are the places that you're marketing, here or there?
And then, and another big thing I know with Amazon, and maybe you can fill us in on the other marketplaces, is they hold your funds for 14 days, right? But they do this thing called a settlement report, which then is here's the proceeds during this two-week period, and here's all the fees that are coming out, and some are so convoluted that you need a decoder ring to try to figure out what this fee is actually for. There's this, and within that 2 weeks, there Lord knows there's returns, right? And as you know, again, Amazon has cornered the market on convenience, so they make it really easy for people to return things. But that ultimately comes back to the supplier when it comes to following the money. And did they actually return the thing? Did it get put back into stock? And that's when they pull the funds back and they have to reverse their referral fees. It's just very complicated, I guess, is the easiest way to describe it. Like, it's like a Facebook relationship status. It's complicated. Right?
Yeah, it is. But if you're using a, connector for your bookkeeping and accounting, that when the payout does come, it'll break those things down into your books. And, they have a suspense account, and they'll hold things past your end of balance, and then you got to keep that on your balance sheet. And so, it can get complicated. Fair does that too. Fair is a wholesale marketplace, and they also don't pay out for quite some time. I think they hold it for 90 days or something like that. And now I know why, because I buy from Fair, but they give me 60-day terms. So that's why the sellers don't get their money for a really long time. But so you have to account for that. So doing this bookkeeping for that adds another layer of complexity if you're dealing with Fair sellers or Amazon sellers or any other platform marketplace that's holding their money. And I think it's also like, if you're starting out on Amazon and you're not an established business, they immediately don't pay you out. They'll hold the majority of the money until you've established yourself as a reputable seller. So prepare for that.
with other marketplaces, do they have that same lag time with as far as the settlement, or is it does it vary? Like, what about like Etsy or Walmart? Do they have the same length of time to from the time of sale to the time you received your funds?
I think Etsy has a setting that you can say pay out sooner or later. I feel like it does. I might be imagining that. But other than that, I think the payouts are standard, like 2 to 3 days. I think Walmart is the same, unless I'm wrong. Shopify, again, 2 to 3 days. All of that's your standard payout. The same as the payment processors, usually, anywhere from 1 to 3 days. Shopify payments is usually 1 to 2 days or something like that.
Mhm.
So but also Shopify will hold. So Shopify payments will hold. So the more established seller you are, the less likely you are to have your payouts withheld.
Got it. One other fee that I saw that was kind of unique is revolving around Etsy, the marketplace, where because they are focused on creators,
Mm-hmm.
it's the one-off tumbler or T-shirt or needlepoint things that are customized. The listings are not for like a product that you have 10, 15 in stock, right? So they charge on a per item listing fee,
Yeah.
right? So just to list something is a fee to list, and
Yeah.
then when you sell that one and you want to replenish the same thing, then there's another,
Yes.
just to list
Yeah,
again and
there's a
again and again.
lot
There's a
of
fee on top of that.
little fees like that in Etsy. And yeah, so that's called made to order. So as opposed to made to stock, it's made to order. So yeah, they're not holding any kind of inventory. I have a few different Etsy sellers that's what they do. And yeah, it's pretty ridiculous what Etsy does. They take so many fees, but man, like if you can get that process right, like know when to buy and when to surge and when to this and when to that. I mean, there's just some sellers that are they're so good. I mean, and that's the thing, but that's all about online selling is if you can get that magic mix of knowing where to advertise and to whom, then you can make a lot of money and you can do it really well.
Mhm.
I'm just not an expert on that. I mean, I have my own store, but I mainly have it just for testing and understanding how everything works from soup to nuts. But it's a real functioning store. But that's sort of that whole realm of, and I do have clients that are big sellers, and they know how to do it. But it's magic. I wish I knew how.
Yeah, yeah. They won't let you know what their magic potion is if they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that kind of gives us a real high level fundamental picture of selling things online and the two major categories. There are a variety of ways within each one, and other multiple players in that space, but you have essentially an online shopping cart and a marketplace as your choice, and then of course you could do a combination of the
Mm-hmm.
two, in multiples, so you could end up with a Sears, Walmart, Marketplace, eBay
Yeah, I do
snag that
have
I had.
I do have one client that's on 10 different marketplaces. A lot of the things are made to order too, but he's on a lot. And the one other thing I was going to say that I think is probably the most important thing at all is from a bookkeeper or accountant's perspective. I usually say bookkeeping and accounting because I do both. I mean, we're inputting the data, but then we're manipulating it in all kinds of different ways. Very complex accounting. But you have to, if you start to do this kind of bookkeeping and accounting, you will have clients ask you, should I sell on Amazon? And for you to be a trusted advisor and partner to them, it's better if you know the fundamentals of all of these things, like what we're discussing. I'm not an expert in Google marketing. Like I really don't even know anything about it, but I know a few different things, and I know enough to understand the language. And so, if you have clients that are asking you, well, how hard is it from your perspective as far as integration and bringing all the sales in from all the different platforms? And of course I can speak to them on that, and I can let them know what the pricing is going to be, and with different payment processors, and they'll ask, well, can I use Square on for here and for here? So there's an endless amount of things that you can specialize in and understand and know what syncs with this and what works with that. And that is just the technical aspect of it. And if you can bring your knowledge up and about really like fundamentally how does Amazon work and how does Etsy work, then you can have those conversations with your clients, and you can say, um, if they've got a very simple setup where they're maybe managing their inventory in QuickBooks and then they're in Shopify, and then they say, I'm thinking about going to Amazon, and then you have the information, what you need to do, and you can have that conversation with them. And so that's wildly important. I've never had a client that has said to me, no, I'm not going to discuss any of those things with you. Usually they come to me and they'll ask, like, what do you think about, or what do you know about the fees for X, Y, and Z? So it's really, really helpful to know the nuts and bolts of all of this stuff. It really is.
So appreciate you joining us again, Rachel, for your wisdom and guidance as we navigate this never-ending story of e-commerce fundamentals. So hopefully everybody found some nuggets of information as we kind of unpacked selling things online as far as the methods to be able to do that. And hopefully you can join us next week where we talk about shipping and fulfillment. This is going to be another juicy topic to sink our teeth into. So everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next time on